So the book I want to share with you today is one that was written about a year and a half ago. It's Educated, a Memoir by Tara Westover. Now, this is probably my favorite book I read this year. I read it earlier in the year. And it is a memoir of a woman who grew up in rural Idaho in an extremist, fundamentalist, survivalist kind of crazy home. And so it was kind of marketed as a book about survivalists, that her family, they didn't believe in modern medicine and they didn't have birth certificates and they lived off the grid and all of that stuff. And it does have a lot of that in there, and it's very interesting to go through. I mean, these terrible medical emergencies, and they didn't take their children to the hospital. Instead, they thought, oh, an herbal tincture will heal that wound from the explosion, like, or a rollover accident. Oh, just, wrap up your broken arm and it'll be fine. It's really crazy. But I think that was kind of a mistake to market it that way, because there's so much more to this book. And the survivalist stuff is not why I plan on returning to this book over and over. What really makes this book special is Tara's journey of growth, her journey through her education, to realize that her home was not the entire universe, and that the views and beliefs of her parents were just one set of possible ways to live your life. I will say it does have some very honest depictions of abuse, which, if that's something you're sensitive to, you're going to want to pace yourself through this book. But I thought it was one of the best depictions of abuse I have read in a long time, maybe ever. And what I really appreciated about it was Tara's ability to describe these characters without demonizing them. She portrays everybody in her life, even those that hurt her, as flawed humans and not as monsters. And I think that it's too easy for people writing about abuse, whether they are victims themselves or looking at it from the outside, to just write off abusers as monsters. And I think that does a real disservice, because the reason domestic violence happens is because abusers are more than just violent people. They are people that the victims value and love. And to paint them just as monsters is to paint the victims as stupid or crazy. And I see this also from people who are writing about their own experiences as victims, because I think it's a very easy way to digest your experience as black or white, that I was the victim, they were the abuser, I did nothing wrong, they did everything wrong. And that is an important place to be and to move through, because a big part of abuse is blame. And so being able to say I did nothing wrong is a good, healthy place to be at. But Tara goes farther and says that these people were humans and that I did love them despite their faults. And I thought it was so beautiful and mature for her to have that clarity of her own experience. I know in reading some other reviews of this book, there has been doubt cast that, like, no one could really live like this, or she couldn't have possibly gotten herself into college. And as someone who has had contact with some of these communities, yes, no, this could absolutely very much happen. I may not know a family just like that, but I know families who don't educate their kids. I know families who refuse medical treatment. I know families who question the validity of civil rights. Families who cover up for abuse. Families who have all their babies at home and may or may not have birth certificates. And it's not hard to believe that there is a family out there that has all of those beliefs and views. In fact, I'm pretty sure many families exist like that. We just don't get a view into them. The other question was about how she could have possibly afforded college or gotten into college. And I was actually I went to the same university as she did, about the same time. I think she's a couple years older than me. And you have to understand that BYU is really inexpensive, especially if you're a member of the church that sponsors BYU. And that, yeah, scholarships don't cover everything, but there are some really good scholarships. So even without teacher recommendations or grades, just your SAT scores alone, that can get you a full scholarship. That's the scholarship that I got. And had I had a better essay, I might have gotten a 150% scholarship, which it's very inexpensive to live in Provo, where the university is. There's lots of on-campus jobs available. It didn't strike me as odd at all that she was able to afford college. Now, getting herself into college, that she takes full credit for that. So if you haven't read the book, her family homeschooled, but they didn't actually teach their kids anything. In fact, they had very few books in their house. That they were just expected to work at the family business, help their mom keep house, take care of the younger siblings. There was no education going on. And she taught herself. She got herself a SAT study guide, and she figured it out. And that part is really amazing. Once again, BYU is very used to dealing with homeschooled kids. They have a higher percentage of homeschool students that are accepted than most other universities. So once again, not implausible, but oh my goodness, way to go, Tara. Like, I have so much respect for that. And in general, I hope that Tara Westover continues to write, because she is a wonderful writer. Not only is her story amazing, some people write wonderful memoirs because they have such an amazing story, and others are just really good writers. And I think Tara is a really good writer, in addition to having an amazing story to tell. So if you have not read this book yet, please find yourself a copy and take time to read it. I'm pretty sure I read this in less than 2 days. I could not put it down. And I hope to return to it time and time again.